Did you know? Khans of Tarkir, released on September 26, 2014, was the first expansion in the final 3-set block model. After this release, Wizards of the Coast would shift to a 2-set block model and eliminate core sets in order to visit new worlds at a faster rate. As such, R&D aimed to do something never done before: draft the middle set with both the first and last sets in the block. With this new drafting model in mind, the creative team took over and established a story arc built on time travel. Tarkir, home to the planeswalker Sarkhan Vol, would be introduced as a world dominated by warring clans, and later one ravaged by the ruthlessness of dragons. Khans of Tarkir is a wedge block, and Tarkir's clans correspond to the 5 wedges. A wedge, as dictated by the Magic color pie, is the combination of 2 ally colors and their mutual enemy color. The Mardu wedge, for example, combines black and red, 2 ally colors, with white, their enemy color. Originally, R&D began designing the set around 4 clans, but the number 5 simply works better in Magic. It also gave R&D the opportunity to establish official names for the wedges, filling the gap left in design since the naming of the shards in Shards of Alara. 5 clans ruled Tarkir. Each clan was championed by a fearless leader, called a Khan, and each one worshipped one aspect of the ancient but long extinct dragons. The Jeskai Way, led by Narset, admires the cunning of the dragon. The Jeskai are monks living in secluded monasteries tucked away in Tarkir's highest mountains. The Jeskai banner is emblazoned with the dragon's eye. Prowess, the Jeskai mechanic, was hugely successful. It granted players a bonus for casting non-creature spells. This tricky keyword helped push cards like Monastery Swiftspear into the eternal limelight, and gave control players in Standard a huge finisher in the form of Pearl Lake Ancient. In June 2015, Mark Rosewater, head designer of Magic, announced Prowess would become an evergreen keyword mechanic. His reasoning was blue needed a combat-relevant keyword that wasn't about evasion, and Prowess, with its popularity and simplicity, was the perfect choice. The Sultai Brood, led by Sidisi, admires the dragon's ruthlessness. Lurking in Tarkir's opulent palaces and humid jungles, the Sultai are made up of Nagas and zombies. The Sultai banner bears the outline of the dragon's fang. Their mechanic, Delve, was originally introduced in Future Sight on 3 cards. Giving players the ability to pay for expensive spells by exiling cards in their graveyards, Delve was the most dangerous of Khans of Tarkir's mechanics. Treasure Cruise, Murderous Cut, Become Immense, and Dig Through Time are unbelievably powerful spells in formats with fetch lands and cheap cantrips. Because they warped the rules of the game, the blue card draw spells Treasure Cruise and Dig Through Time were banned in Modern and Legacy only a few months after seeing print. The Mardu Horde, led by Zurgo Helmsmasher, is all about the dragon's speed. This is symbolized through the wings of their war flag and on the armor of their mercenaries. Living in the open Badlands of Tarkir, this clan is depicted wielding swords and axes on all of their cards. The orcs of the Mardu just want to attack, and Raid gave players bonuses for turning their creatures sideways. Wingmate Rock emerged as the standout Mardu card in Standard. Getting 2 3/4 flyers for 5 mana was a fantastic rate, and often resulted in concessions from opponents facing down the menacing pair of birds. Because of its incredible value, the Avian was prominently featured as one of the best performing cards right out of the gate at Pro Tour Khans of Tarkir.
Ari can now play Wingmate Rock, go to 5, and if McLaren doesn't draw a burn spell, and it can't be a Manus Rider or Sarkhan anymore, if he doesn't draw a burn spell, Ari's going to get to gain 4 life on the attack next turn.
Wow.
The Teamer Frontier, led by Surrak Dragonclaw, loves the dragon's savagery. Braving the Arctic tundra of Tarkir, the clan is composed of intrepid hunters, woolly mammoths, and shamans of ancient magic. The Teamer flag boasts the image of the dragon's claw. Their mechanic, Ferocious, did not make a huge splash in constructed formats. However, it provided players with one of the most iconic cards of the past few years, Savage Punch. The card depicts Surrak punching a grizzly bear and appeared on playmats and sleeves everywhere after the first set released. The card was so celebrated by fans that it came back hitting harder than ever in Dragons of Tarkir. The Abzan houses, led by Anafenza, admire the dragon's endurance. They inhabit the deserts of Tarkir and have constructed fortified cities to brave the menacing sands. They fly the flag of the dragon's scale. Their tendency to clamp down and stand strong behind shields is reflected on their keyword Outlast. The mechanic was clunky and slow, and was only somewhat successful in draft. However, the Abzan were given one of Magic's most powerful and impactful creatures ever printed, Siege Rhino. The menace of Standard for 2 years, Siege Rhino came crashing down at multiple Pro Tours and even helped Seth Manfield win the Magic World Championship by draining his opponent's life total and trampling over their smaller creatures. Sporting gorgeous artwork by the legendary artist Volkan Baga, the Rhino will remain one of Magic's most iconic cards, for better or for worse, in the years that follow. The lead protagonist of the story, Sarkhan Vol, was represented on a brand new mono-red Planeswalker card. Because of his obsession with dragons, R&D gave Sarkhan the ability to become one himself. This power is reflected on his +1 ability, and was reminiscent of another standard powerhouse that rotated with the prior season, Stormbreath Dragon. Morph also made its return in Khans of Tarkir, and according to Mark Rosewater, the mechanic predated the clans. Because the story would be built around time travel, R&D wanted a mechanic that could also change with the timeline. Lore-wise, Morph descended from a draconic mage, so it also matched the theme of Tarkir. Although it was popular in its debut in Onslaught, Morph struggles with being a relevant mechanic outside of draft. Paying 3 mana for a 2/2 does not make the cut in constructed decks, as it falls severely behind curve and is difficult to balance when flipped up. Khans of Tarkir offered a lot in the way of flavor and gameplay for players. It also brought the reprinting of ally-colored fetch lands. Prior to this set, these cards were illegal in the modern format. Players were ecstatic about the new availability of these lands, as it allowed them to perfect their mana bases across multiple formats like never before. These lands will forever be a crucial aspect to Magic, and also a controversial part of the game. Some players blame fetches, and shuffling in particular, for plaguing tournaments and forcing players to draw due to time. Others admire the consistency they provide to keep their decks running smoothly. And now you know more about Khans of Tarkir. Stay tuned for upcoming episodes on Fate Reforged and Dragons of Tarkir right here on Gathering Magic. Make sure to subscribe and comment below with your favorite aspect of the set. If you'd like to watch more Did You Know Magic videos, you can click right here to visit our playlist. This episode was written and voiced by me, the Magic Man Sam. If you want to watch more of my original content, please visit my YouTube channel by clicking on the link on screen or in the video's description.